Welcome back to the Athlete Lab podcast, where we explore what it takes to develop athletes on and off the field. Today, we're joined by Mike Martin, former University of Michigan football captain, NFL defensive tackle, now leader, making impact in the business and business world and beyond. So, Mike, it's great to have you on.
Yeah, it's awesome to be here with you guys. Love to talk about all these things we're going to dive into. Let's do it.
Awesome. Well, let's start with the obvious. It's a big week in Michigan here. So, those of us who are familiar with the state and the sporting calendar know that they've got this one circled every single year. So you got to play in the Michigan State football rivalry. Now, in hockey, I'm fortunate to be part of it in the hockey rivalry. I've seen it everywhere. I've seen it play out from the people who are just they're fans, but to hear from somebody who was actually on the field and those games and the intensity, like, tell me what was that like?
I mean, that game, this weekend and in that game, it's just the records go out the window. Nothing matters but you being able to hold your head up high after that game and how it plays out. Obviously you want to win, but a lot of these guys you grew up with, man, you played little league football with, you went to high school with them, maybe middle school. And at some point you guys parted ways and one went to Michigan and one went to Michigan State. And it could be everything from aunts and uncles to your own mother or father who went to the other school. And now that day is kind of the day of reckoning. So it's, you don't want to have to deal with it the next 364 days after of hearing that you got your butt kicked. And that's why it's such a big game, because it's the state championship. And that's, at Schembechler Hall, we have that, right there at the, it's like, what did you do today to beat Ohio State? And then what did you do today to win the state championship? Those are the two things that we always harp on and talk about in Ann Arbor. So it's huge.
That's an awesome way of putting it. And it's so true that depending on any family table, you're going to sit there and there's going to be someone on either side of it, and that's that pressure is real. Sometimes the pressure from the aunts and uncles or the grandparents might be worse.
Yeah, I mean, my own wife went to Michigan State, so it's like I deal with this all the time. Her mom went to Michigan State, her brother went to Ohio State. So it's like I'm like the lone soldier. So I've but hey, that's what it's all about.
That it is. I don't know if you're going to get much sympathy, but other from the other Wolverines. So yeah, that's got to be tough and fun. Yeah.
It is.
So, you have a memory that stands out from one of the games you were playing in, like good or bad, that really just kind of stands out as your signature moment from this rivalry?
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, Javon Ringer is a good friend of mine. He played with me in Tennessee, and he did his thing during those games and at those times. So it's just, him and I going at it, just in the trenches, man, just getting after it. Kirk Cousins obviously was there at that time, and I got a bunch of hits on those guys. We weren't where we wanted to be as a program at that time. That was the ebb and flow of the era of football during that time. But it's just there's just so many things. I'm friends with all these guys: Javon Ringer, Jarrell Worthy, Greg Jones. Because we all played in the league together, and you talk about it and you chirp and you go back and forth, and that's what it is. But I just remember being in East Lansing my junior year, I think. And they cut the water off on us. We were, they not only got the win, you got to give it to them, give credit where credit's due, but then we're all taking a shower after and just all the water goes straight cold. I don't think that was a mistake. So it's just, hey, that's what it is.
That's like another level of rivalry.
Yeah. Not only did we lose, but then I can't even get a hot shower. But hey, it is what it is.
You don't know if that was premeditated or that was just somebody acting alone, saying, if I turn this knob.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. So you mentioned your time in Tennessee. You played in the NFL for a long time, and you're playing with these guys, and obviously the chirps going back and forth and stuff. But the opportunity to, you mentioned too, like maybe play little league football against them or in middle school or in high school, and then go your separate ways and then play again. Like, to me, that immediate thing comes to mind, and that's the value in sports. where you guys can absolutely battle each other, and then you kind of develop that friendship. You say you stayed friends with these guys. Is that something that this week is like the text messages and all that? Is that still constant, or do you guys let it go?
Yeah, no, it's like I said, it's lifelong, man. Once you're in this thing, it's blood in, blood out. So it's like you're texting, you're chirping, you're doing all those things, and it's fun. It's so much fun. I mean, all these guys are doing great in their respective places of life of being, husbands and fathers and leaders in their community and in their careers now. And it's awesome to see everyone develop and see where they're at now. But one thing that never changes is this. And no matter, you know, where you're at in life, we're all gonna come back to this and say, like, I'm gonna kick your ass, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And it all goes out the window, man. It's like it's the best. But there's a ton of respect that goes along with it. And it's really bigger than the game, and it's, we all get excited about the game, right? And it's great. But the thing that, you learn this as you age, you get older and you develop relationships with these people. It's like, man, we're all trying to do the same thing. We all just want to lay it out there, put our best self forward and not have any regrets, and just be able to hang your hat and be happy about what you put out there. And then life goes on, but it's a special game. It teaches you a lot of things.
Yeah, no, that's good. There's a lot there when you think about like just the value of sports in general, and the people moving on, becoming leaders and contributors in their community, and like all those things. That's like the biggest picture about that. And to that point, this weekend something different. You've added the battle for the houses, which explain this. Like, the benefit I'll say for the Ronald McDonald House is, like, to me, that's one of the best charities out there. Like, it's an incredible cause, so it's pretty cool. I've watched the promo videos. You guys did an unreal job with that. Those of you, it'll be in the show notes. Yeah, check it out. It's awesome. Really fun to watch. But kind of what's the backstory on that?
Yeah, well, first I'll say shout out to Ryan Doyle, who's the videographer, creator, mastermind of these videos that we do. He's the guy's bar none. But he TJ Duckett, he called me. We've been friends for well over 10 years. And his son went through a really scary and tough situation, had to have some procedures done when he was born, and they were in Ann Arbor at Children's Mount Hospital. And he really was exposed to the Ronald McDonald House, and because of what he went through, and just felt and saw the value that they give to families. And it's huge, and so he called me several years ago and he's like, hey man, we've got to put our heads together and do something to benefit this program and get some eyes on it and platform it, because I just went through this. I'm like, yeah man, like, what do you need? Like, there's no hesitation at all. So we jumped right into it. We our first year we had, great outcome, and it's just grown, the momentum of it. And it's really about creating awareness around, because most people don't realize what the Ronald McDonald House does. And when families are going through this tough situation, the toughest they've ever gone through, they don't want to think about where they're going to get their next meal, where they're going to sleep. They want to be by their bedside, by their child who's dealing with this, awful thing that they're working through. They just want to be there for their kids. So that's what the Ronald McDonald House allows families to do. And, so that's what we're trying to elevate and help improve. And it's so much fun. We use the fandom and the excitement around the game to get people amped up, and we raise money and we raise volunteer hours. So it's a good way to get people going and to use the energy of the game to something that's really gonna, that's bigger than the game. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's super cool. The volunteer hours, that just jumped right out to me, because everybody's in different situations and can donate to things where they can, and sometimes they aren't able to. So to donate your time, though, like to have that as an initiative where you guys are keeping track of who's going and getting the most time donated, like, I thought that's unreal, because now it could be a 15-year-old college or sorry, high school athlete that they probably don't have the finances to donate money, but they can donate their time. Or someone who's a retiree who just really has extra time and really wants to be able to do something for the good. And especially as a son of a Michigan fan who's a retiree. I can see him. That would be his only volunteer. That was like one way of getting a little bit Michigan another win on this weekend. So I think that just the fact that you're doing that, it's a really good idea, and that's got to be really cool to see all the different people come.
Yeah, I've met so many people throughout this on both sides of the aisle, and it just brings you together. You hear stories, and it's real human stuff. But everyone has there's I say you can give time, talent, or treasure, right? So it's no matter where you are in life, it doesn't have to be financial when you give to this or to anything. It's human connection. It's how can I help? What skills do you have that could be beneficial to an organization or to a person, or some words of encouragement, or coming to cook a meal for a family, coming to spend some time, bring some supplies, basic things that, we all take for granted. But when you're family from Oregon and you flew to Ann Arbor because that's the place that is going to provide the best care to your child, may not have deodorant or toothpaste or, socks, it's like all these things. So there's a million ways to help, and it's just lending a helping hand. So.
Yeah, and in that case, it's that place to sleep and a place that just not be able to think about anything else. Just think about how can you be there for your son or daughter, and yeah, that is really you're really helping families in the worst time of need. So that's it's really really cool. You mentioned a couple times like the playing and what I can sense from this is like your sincere sense of gratitude of things like. What are some of the things you might have learned playing the highest level, the most, in our country, the biggest, the highest profile sport that would really would lend itself to being extra grateful? Was that something that was part of the Tennessee culture? Is that something the NFL does, or is that just kind of natural amongst the culture of the sport?
I think it's a culmination of the people that have been in my life throughout my journey of life as a young man, my mother, my coaches, my mentors, my teachers I went to Detroit Catholic Central High School, had so many people that poured into me there at St. Robert Bellarmine, which is the middle school I went to. I can just name these people off that I'm still close with today that imprinted on me. And it's really, I think the overarching lesson is the trajectory of your life bends around the direction of your habits. And that's just something that I've learned and just has stuck with me my entire life, that, you don't just wake up and have success. And that's how sports and athletics work. It's not about perfection. It's about progress. So every day, just putting in the work, doing it when the lights are off, no one's watching, no one's asking or telling you to do something. You just got to go put the work in. And that's, if I'm talking to a young man who has the dream of going to college and getting a full ride scholarship, or going to the NFL, or an adult that's trying to be better in their marriage or their relationship. It takes work to improve your life in every aspect. And I think that's just the beauty of sports, because again, it's like one of the lessons, like the great lessons that the gridiron teaches you, right? It's to be selfless, to be a good teammate, to be accountable, to be there for the guy next to you, to lay it all out there, all those things that's if you took sports out of it, that describes a good human, right? So that's the great part about it. So
Yeah, boy, there's a ton there, and it's you're reflecting on like what football's taught you, and I think all of us who've been part of sports can kind of say, oh gosh, that's where I learned that. And if you're a coach and you feel like the teaching the tactics of the game is the most important, realistically for life, it's all the other things that's most important, regardless of the level you're coaching. And as a player, when you're learning these things from coaches, you should be taking that stuff away more than, obviously the sport part of it. It just isn't 100%. I don't know what that percentage is, but to hear you talk about that, like that absolutely translates regardless of the sport.
yeah, and it's, I was talking to my nephew yesterday. He's a 14-year-old freshman out here in California, and we had a nice long conversation because he's working his butt off. He wants to be successful, and we have that same exact talk. And I say to him, and to people, it's like, just, you have to be elite at the details, at the simple stuff. Like, you can't expect to be able to shine when the lights are on, and that's giving a presentation in class. That's making the play on the football field. That's being a leader in your, corporate job or whatever it is, or a coach or a mentor, right? You can't expect to show up in those moments if you're not doing the little things at the best of your abilities. And it's not fun. It's just like the things you got to do. And, it's do your job, be a humble servant. It takes a team, you're only as strong as your weakest link. You just got to be like coachable, man. You got to be coachable. And we all get it from each other. Iron sharpens iron, you and I are having a conversation. I'm going to pick stuff up from you. You're going to, you don't know it all. And the day you think it, the moment you do is when you got a lot of problems. So you got to be a humble servant.
Right. That's the whole concept of you're either getting better or you're getting worse. There's no staying the same. So, once you think you know it all, you're taking a step backwards, and somebody's trying to learn more. Somebody's going to try to do more. And recently heard somebody that's just like, once you get the mindset of when it's hard, that's what's fun and that's what's good. That just changes everything, because you're like, oh, this is great because this is really hard. I love it because I know what that result ends up meaning.
Yep. Yeah. And it's, I give a lot of talks and just coming across people, and it's like, you really got to enjoy the suck, like you really got to enjoy being uncomfortable. And when you find those opportunities, that's what being uncomfortable is. That's an opportunity. When you're going through the mud, it feels like, and you just feel like, you can't really see the other side. That's when you got to be able to change the lens and say like, oh, this is one of those times where I'm going to come out and be a better person. I'm going to learn from this. I'm going to come out of this with things and tools that I didn't have before, and try to have that. And it's not, we're all human, man. It's like, it's not going to be perfect. It's going to look ugly a lot. Right. But you got to be okay. You just got to fall forward. So.
Right. Yeah. Fall for it. It's like that. I've seen a pretty cool video. It's like fail hard. It's that type of thing. And that's a great mentality. I think you mentioned you went to Catholic Central. Is that right?
Yeah. I'm a Shamrock. Yep.
Yeah. Breakfast
Yep.
Drive.
Yeah. I was at the Breakfast Drive. We were there for a year, and then we went out to Novi. So shout out the Shamrocks and Justin Fasante, who's the head coach over there, the brother of mine. So yeah.
That's cool. I too, I was a full Breakfast Drive, obviously quite a bit older than you, but I was, when you mentioned that, and it makes me think there's so many little things, culturally of places like that. And, but like when I drive by now, the Novi campus versus the one that I was at the whole time, I've never talked to someone who's like full, got to do both of them. But when when you look at like what is available, and you have a nephew in this age group, like what's available to athletes now versus when you went to high school, or second, when I went to high school. So like when you're an athlete development now, what do you see as new? What do you see as maybe even detrimental? Like we talk about that side of it that might be different than when you went through, the sport, all sports continue to evolve. I'm curious, like your perspective on that.
Yeah. There, like, to your point, there's a ton of resources. There's so much out there from coaches and specialty focusing right on positions or your sport that you play, and YouTube videos and all this stuff. Right. And I just think that, like, getting down to the basics and back to the foundations of being successful, it just comes back to just putting in the work. Like, you don't need to be in the fancy training facility to get the outcome you need athletically. You don't need to go to, some expensive conference to learn things. Like, you can just seek out the information. It's right there at your fingertips, and just be receptive to it, and then implement it. Don't be a forever learner without execution. So to me, it's picking up lessons, executing it at the best of your ability, and then just, it's like a working thing, right? Like that's life. And like for the athletic stuff, man, I was talking to my nephew to go back to him, and I'm like, man, he's out here in Northern California area, and there's mountains. I'm like, you need to just go run that damn mountain. Like, if you want to be that guy, go run the damn mountain. You don't, there's no workout that's going to give you the edge. It's between your ears. What are you doing when no one's watching? Like, you should be up before your parents are up. If you're really about that life, you need to be up before your parents are up, ready to go outside already and them catching up to you. Like, and that's how I was, man. Like, I was so committed to what I wanted to do in my life. I had this book that I wrote in when I was in 5th grade, and I showed him this book. It literally is, I dated it, and it's like a 5th grader's handwriting. And I'm like, I want to go to the NFL. I wanted to make $1 million. That was the biggest number I could think of when I'm in 5th grade. And I wanted to be an Eagle Scout, and I wanted to do all these things. And I found this notebook like 5 or 6 years ago. I was packing up and going through stuff, and I found it, and I was flipping through it, and everything that I'd written down had come true. And it's like, it's just not a mistake. Everything starts with a thought, reduces down to, an action, and then just constant progress toward that thought and with action. So it's really not that complicated. You just got to go do it, man.
No, exactly. I love like the fact you manifest, you write it down. Like, I love that. I think that's such a powerful thing. I think we all should be encouraging young athletes to do that and not text it, and, like actually physically write it down, because it is like, it's such a great kind of way of putting your thoughts and then, putting yourself into action. But also it's great. One of my least favorite things is hearing people say, "Oh, do you know what the odds are of making it to the NFL?" Of course, but you know what? The harm would be in telling that 5th grader, telling that you couldn't make it. If someone were to read that book and you'd say, "Oh, come on, like, what are the odds?" How many kids, who cares? You want to train, be that person that's up and, going to bed earlier than everybody else because they want to be up so they can do this, And I think it's such a good message. And I love hearing that story that, my previous job worked for the Red Wings. And there was a player that wrote the NHL on the ceiling. So every day that he'd go to bed when he was, I think he did it without his parents' permission when he was like, same thing, 8 years old. And now he's in the NHL. That's what you think about, and that's all you want to do. I think that those are things that we as, people in our roles in the athletic development world need to encourage kids to do, because it's great to chase those dreams. That's super cool that you found that book.
Yeah.
I hope you share that story with a lot of people, because that's a great message for parents.
And I had some things, if I was in my home office back in Ann Arbor, I would show you the book because it's sitting on my bookshelf for me to look at and to remind myself that I did this, right? And that's my own product from myself, but I still need a reminder of younger me and things that I've done in my past. And it's like, so my point is that we all need to be doing that. And it's not like once you have some success, whatever that is. And in this example, it's, going to the NFL. I was in Boy Scouts. My mom didn't let me quit that. So I went all the way to the end. And, it's like these things, and you take it with you for your entire life, and you're able to look back and say, we all have those times where it's like in that moment we thought, man, this is impossible. Like, this seems really tough. I don't know how I'm going to get through this, but what happened? You did get through it, and you came out, and the sun came and shined the next day. And you just have to remind yourself that you got to just stick in it when those moments come up, and see it through. Muhammad Ali has this quote that's, the dude has a ton of quotes and a ton of things, right? But one of my favorite is he said something like, impossible is just a word that's thrown around by small-minded people who find it easier to live in the world they've been given than to explore the power that they have to change it. So that's those people telling you, well, hey, it's, going to the NFL, it's 1% of 1%. Like, that's impossible. Well, that's because you're small-minded and you're afraid to explore the power that you have to change that outcome, right? Impossible is just an opinion. It's not a declaration. It's an opinion. So whatever you decide is impossible, well, yeah, it's impossible now because you told yourself it's impossible. But I never told myself it was impossible. I didn't say it was going to be easy. Or I said it wasn't going to be easy. I didn't say it was impossible, right? But I'm like, let's go do it, man. Because, hey, you only get to live once, right? Who wants to be that guy on his old rocking chair saying that, life was easy and he just made a bunch of money and had no adversity? No one wants to listen to that story. I want to read the book of the guy who said, I went through the crap, and it was this and that, and I had to figure this out, and I had to pivot, and someone told me no here, but I said, screw that, I'm gonna go after it and do it, and it ended up it's like that's what you want to read, right? So
Right. Yeah, and for sure. You said something really interesting to me. Like you wanted to quit Boy Scouts, your mom made you, and now you're grateful for it, and you became an Eagle Scout, which I'm sure there's times where now if your nephew wanted to go camping or wanted to do something, you'd have extra knowledge, not just football knowledge, which is awesome. But I think that I take from that is your mom was a parent. Like at
yeah,
that point, she knew, yeah, that's great that all you want to do is play football, but guess what? You're also doing this, and I think that that's something that, like, how old are you when that happened? Like, what was some of those things that kind of come back up? Because we know what it's like when you tell a kid no, like no one likes it. And the parents' path of least resistance. One of my best friends, he's a great guy. His kids when they were younger, and they've turned out excellent. But when they were like in this 6, 8, 10, they were chaos. And he would say, I don't usually say no. It feels so much better to say yes. And I'm like, dude, kids are everywhere, and like,
yeah,
and he'd be okay with me sharing that story. But it,
yeah.
if you know what I mean, like a parent being able to say, no, you're doing this like that's really good. Like, how was that as a kid? And what are some benefits of, I ended up like, aside from football, like, becoming an Eagle Scout.
Yeah, it was Boy Scouts, going to Eagle Scout. It was the band. I joined the band when I was a freshman in high school because I wanted to go to Hawaii because Catholic Central would go on these awesome trips. So I thought I was slick, and I'm like, oh, I'll get a free trip to Hawaii, and I'll just play the cymbals or the triangle or something really easy, And I went to go check it out, orientation, and I put my name on this list of like, hey, I'm interested. I'm gonna go check this thing out. And I was told like, hey, we have clarinet and saxophone, like those are the only spots. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna do that. That's not what I'm here to do. And my mom like asked me like, hey, how was class? And I was, school and the band and all. I'm like, oh, yeah, they just got sax and clarinet, so I'm not gonna do it. She's like, no, well, you put your name on that sheet that you signed up. I'm like, no, I didn't. It was just like a interest. And she's like, no, you signed up, so pick clarinet or sax because you're doing it for 1 year, and it, and then I ended up doing it all 4 years. Was on jazz band, wasn't too shabby playing the alto sax, and still can play it today. But I say that story just because, yeah, I was really salty about it at the time. I'm like, I'm already doing so much in my head. It's like, mom, I'm already doing Boy Scouts. I've got football and all this, and now you want me to like learn how to play an instrument. And it's just was the lessons of like seeing things through and just putting your all into it. That's really what she taught me. I didn't like it at the time, but it's, I'm so grateful for it now because it's just carried with me throughout my whole life. And with Boy Scouts too. I mean, it's like, man, I show dogs. My mom got me in this dog show that ended up being #1 in the country, showing working breeds and Rottweilers. I was #1 in the nation. I was 12 or 13 years old doing that, because I'd go to these dog shows and I was just putzing around, getting into trouble, trying to steal people's golf carts, being a young boy. My mom's like, you need to like do something productive, and got me into that. So it's like, it's just all the things, man.
That's awesome. Like, that's doing it. You just, from a family's perspective, the fact that your mom made you stick with that, and then you sound like you're exponentially well-rounded in all these different things that you've done. It makes me like go back to even as simple as playing another sport. So often with the way that the sports culture has evolved, that kids are deciding at 8, 9 years, 10 years old which sport they're going to play, and and the parent will say, I love when a parent says, well, all they want to do is play soccer, or all they want to do is do this. Like, well, that's great. Well, if they also want to stay up till 11 and just eat ice cream, but you're going to say no to that. So, like that's something that, it sounds like your mom really forced you to do a bunch of different things that you're forever grateful for as an adult, that you can play an instrument, that you can, that you've shown dogs. Like those type things are way different, way more than just, you know, having your identity be only as a football player. So that's it sounds like we should have your mom on the podcast as well. Sounds like a pretty special person.
Yeah, man, she's awesome. Everyone that comes across her, they can pick up on that. But yeah, it's like, it's so true. I mean, when I got done playing ball, which happens to all of us, right? Like I had these talks with guys. It's like, you're going to be done with football, whether it's by your own decision or by you getting cut or getting injured. Like those are the three ways we leave football, right? It's I wasn't good enough, I got injured, or I got old, right? Like, that's you don't play this game forever, and you surely don't, because it's painful once you get to you get to be in your 30s and 40s and you're playing football. So God bless you if you're blessed enough to be able to do that. But the point is that who are you outside of this sport, right? And like what makes you who you are? What's important to you? What gets you excited? How do you want to interact in this world that we live in? What kind of impression you want to leave on people when you come across them and in whatever professional thing that you do. It's, construction worker, business owner, doctor, lawyer, coach, whatever the thing is, it's like, start to have those thoughts now and feed that side of you, because you can't just forget about that. Because the problem that happens is guys go through their whole life just focusing on football or the sport. And once it's taken away from you, however way that happens, then they're kind of they're in this dark space because they never put the work in on all the other stuff, and they're kind of reaching for straws. And it's not fun to be in that space. Even if you have a plan, you're in that space because you've been the best at something for so long, and then it just goes away and you got to figure it out. And I was a guy who had a plan. I went and got my MBA in finance while I was in the NFL, knew that I wanted to manage my own money and be equipped with the tools there, and knew I wanted to be in finance, but it didn't know how it was going to look, right? I was still third year in the NFL. And when I got injured, and I'm a guy who got his master's, I am very forward thinking and thinking about what's after. And I still was really bummed and depressed for about 6 months of like, dang, man, this sucks, because yeah, I love football, right? And it's a great game. So that's a guy, again, who had a plan. So if you don't have a plan, think about how that's going to go and how tough that's going to be. So do yourself a favor, man, and just put in the work in all aspects of your life. So
A great message, and must have made that transition so much easier, because leaving the sport that you love, it's been your identity, is never easy. So that's super cool. So
yeah.
what you got to represent Michigan on the field. Now you're representing Michigan in the battle, battle for the houses. And like, what is that like to still do that? And like, what type of involvement do you get from the university? And aside from just making the fun videos, obviously.
Yeah, it's great. I'm meeting with Ward Manuel tomorrow, the athletic director. We're actually taking him on a tour of Ronald McDonald House, Ann Arbor, and they've just been very gracious and engaged with me on this stuff. It's fun to get support and to have people say like, "Hey, Mike, love to help. How can I help?" Whether they're current players on the team, Jerome Moore, the athletic director, "Hey, Mike, we love what you're doing, and how can it be support?" Right. So it's a lot of fun. And 2 years ago when the game was in East Lansing, it was kind of funny. I was down in the field with TJ and I bumped into D'Antonio, and I kind of grabbed him by the shoulders behind him, and he turns around and he's like, "Mike Martin." And I hadn't seen him in years, and he just looks at me and he looks me up and down. He's like, "You didn't call me back." I'm like, "Coach, it's all love, man. It wasn't like that." He's like, "No, no, no. I'm very I'm thrilled to see the success you've had in life, and I followed you, and I'm really happy for you." And just like, D'Antonio's the man. And it's just, that's why this game's so cool. It's like, Izzo, D'Antonio, these guys who I came across when I was going through my process, and now they're just, it's about being a good husband and a good father and a good member of the community. Like, football's fun, and they understand that. That's why there's such great legendary coaches, because we're going to get after it on Saturdays, but like, they want to coach to make sure that their guys are good husbands and good fathers and good community leaders. So that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's great. I had an opportunity to meet both of them when I worked at Michigan State for the hockey program, and exactly as you said, they're just good people, and that's circling back to the beginning. Like that's the value of sports. Here's these connections, and they would have. I'm sure Coach D'Antonio laughs about it now, but I'm sure he was upset that they didn't get you on campus.
Yeah.
Where there's some underlying a little bit of competitiveness, but also that
For sure.
that truth in like being very happy for your successes and everything. So. This has been really, really cool. I get listen to you talk and like share that stuff. It's motivating just talking to you. So I appreciate it, and we'll be sharing all of the way that our listeners, whether they're leaning green or leaning blue, we'll make sure they know where they can donate their time, which is really, really cool. And if they wanted to make a financial commitment as well to support your guys' cause, and yeah, it's cool. Having not played for either one, I've worked at Michigan State. I get put torn in that direction, but I grew up being indoctrinated into Michigan, so it's a tough weekend for myself. So I might have to do time to one and money to the other. So I'm sort of on each side of it. Might be more comfortable.
Yeah, I'll leave you guys with so the first thing is battle. So it's battleforthehouses.com. So that's where you can go, and it's all crowdfunded. So there's people that donate $10, $20, you could donate whatever you'd like. So it's fun, and you can put on there, go blue, go green, whatever you want to, people chirp at each other on the board, and it's fun. And you can see, I haven't checked the score yet, but last time I looked, we were in the lead. So, you'll see it kind of tick up, and it's fun. And the other thing with the essence of this podcast and everything, and maybe young people listening or whatever, I'll just say, with every great accomplishment, starts with an even greater vision, right? So, write down those goals, have the vision, keep yourself accountable to those goals. Only what you expect out of yourself and what you wrote down in that paper. It's not for the world to see. Keep yourself accountable, do that, and don't expect uncommon results without uncommon action. So, it's all out there for the taking. It's the world's in your hands. Go get it, and you'll be successful.
That's awesome, man. I really, really appreciate your time. Thank you for doing what you're doing for a wonderful charity, and keeping the rivalry alive for you. And I love how you did stop short of actually articulating "go green." I think that's fantastic. You're like, you can say "go blue" or "go green." Yeah, no, we'll find something else. That's the essence of the thing. So yeah, awesome. Well, thanks again, and all the best. And yeah, look forward to seeing you around soon.
Go blue.
Take care. We heard the Michigan perspective from Mike Martin, the pride, the rivalry, and the call to support families through the battle for the houses. Coming up next, we've got a very special guest, TJ Duckett, former Michigan State football standout, first round NFL draft pick, and someone who continues to make a huge impact far beyond the game. Welcome back to the Athlete Lab podcast, where we discuss all the things on and off the field that drive athletic success. Today, we're joined by TJ Duckett. We're really excited to have him on the podcast today. We're talking about a few things, but this is a big week in the state of Michigan and really around the whole college football landscape, as Michigan and Michigan State have their annual meeting, and TJ had the opportunity of being on the field for that. So let's start there, man. Like, what is this week like for you, and what was it like to play in that game?
Yeah, this is always a special week. Yeah, whether definitely when I was playing in it, but now I mean, just it's you know that date on the calendar. You know when it's coming. You try not to look ahead. You try not to focus on them too much, but you know they're there. You know it's coming, and this is a game. It's for all the bragging right. And whether you play and you only have, this, if you're a senior, this is the last chance you get. Now, maybe you leave school early. You got to hear about whatever happens in this game the next 365 days. And, I love it. And being able to have this charity event around the game, it's a fun way for me to even feel like I'm a part of it.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So you mentioned it. I do want to go back to some of your favorite memories about playing the games, but
Yeah.
tell us about the charity. So we've talked to Mike a bit. You know, we got the battle for the house is unbelievable, and also I gotta say, and I said to Mike, the videos you guys produce are awesome.
Yeah.
Like I enjoy it. It's so much fun. So yeah, tell us about it. It's cool. What does it mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Battle for the Houses. It's friendly charity event versus Ronald McDonald House of Mid-Michigan against Ronald McDonald House Charities of Ann Arbor. And we see who can have the most fun, raise the most dollars, and have the most volunteer hours. And the winner at the end of the game, when the clock strikes 0-0, it ends up being whoever has the most points. Then we have a small Paul Bunyan trophy that travels back and forth. But when this whole thing started, it was back in the day, I used to volunteer at the Ronald McDonald House, and here in mid-Michigan, and just do what we could to help around there. And then in 2022, our family actually needed the house. Our youngest son was born with underdeveloped heart, and my wife needed to stay at the Ronald McDonald House in Ann Arbor during his treatments and his surgeries. So during that time, it was, I believe, dreams. Every time we had to go to Ann Arbor, it was always a tough situation. But to be there on that campus and to see the work that their doctors did and just everybody in the medical community, I mean, I'm so thankful for them and all of their help. And my wife and I were trying to figure out, what else could we do to help give back? And so we started to think about Ronald McDonald House in Ann Arbor, the one in mid-Michigan. Started to think about the game and we married the two. And reached out to both the houses. They thought it was great. Reached out to my boy Mike, and he jumped in. And Ryan Doyle, who came in, like the whole team came together for this amazing cause. And Meyer came in and showed some big support. And so it's our year 3. And it goes from an idea. It was an idea that just trying to help those families that will be eventually utilizing Ronald McDonald House Charities because they have some unknown thing that happens while their child is born. They don't even know that they're going to be utilizing it yet. But to be able to help them, help raise awareness, help raise funds for them to support those families, that's what this whole thing is about. And to be able to use the game that is a house divided, it really, you got one side, you got the other. But to use that game to bring us together for a cause, it gets no better.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm sorry to hear that you needed to be there for your young child, but it is that like it is as good of a charity as there is. Because when you're going through that as a family, that's something that is definitely one hurdle that you just can't get past. You know what I mean? Like you want to have a place to be. It's a wonderful charity. So that's super cool. So you now you have this experience of going to the game. You guys are competing and those things, and it's a little bit. But there's a trophy on the line. Talk to me about when you're playing. So you were inducted in the Michigan Sports Hall of Fame in 2018. You're obviously a super accomplished player, played in the NFL. But when you think back all those games you played in the NFL, but go back to those Michigan State rivalry years, like, is there a game that sticks out or a play or something that was really that one pinnacle moment for you?
Yeah, all of them. I mean, all the way back to, I'm from Kalamazoo, so born and raised here in the state. And my older brother went to Michigan State and played football as well. And I remember back in, I think it was 90, I think. But they're playing, I was 9 years old, and they were playing in Ann Arbor. And my brother Tico scored the game-winning touchdown. That's when they went back down, and Desmond dropped it. And, I mean, I remember that. And I remember, like, my friends at school, like these are kids, we're kids. And they were literally like, I'm on this team, I'm on that team. Teachers were in it. Like, everybody was in this game. And I'm like, wow, okay. But then fast forward now, and I'm in that game, and I'm playing in it. And my freshman year to play, and it was a home game at our place, and that was my introduction to the rivalry. I mean, Plex had an amazing game. I think Tom Brady was on that team. I mean, but that was where you got to see how everything intensified. Like everything turned up. Records didn't matter. Nothing mattered. And then my junior year going into that game, it was they had a better record. But long story short, we had 1 second left on the clock. I caught this big pass. There's some controversy there, but that don't matter. And game was over. And that's the biggest memory of me playing in that game. But I mean, that the whole entire game, the whole entire rivalry, it vibrates throughout the community, no matter if you want to be involved or not. There's a side that you choose, your parents chose, your grandparents chose. Like somebody has got you into to love either that green or that other color.
That's great. Well, everyone listening has like their memories are going now, because I think those of us old enough, which I am too. I think I was in third or fourth grade, and that play you're talking about, I remember exactly. I remember exactly where what my dad was yelling. Can't share that on a podcast, but yeah, like it was and then to see, I love how you kind of breeze over any type of controversy on a big catch, but that's. You kind of touch on the fact that like sports, this rivalry is so much bigger than just the game.
Yeah.
It is families. It's something that we're divided as a state, but it brings us together as a state. It's
right.
Yeah.
But even fast forward even more as a fan. I mean, 10 years ago, Jalen Lights Jackson. I mean, to be watching that now again, I'm an all the way fan. I'm an alumni. I'm a old school Spartan dog, and I'm watching that, and to have that same experience, that same feeling that I had personally when that game happened, and to see that clock ticking down, the story with the 10-second something bust and like the whole thing. I mean, that's the rivalry. That's what it's about. So I have been able to we all have been able to be a part of it throughout different instances, and there's different moments of that rivalry mean something to people of those eras. I mean, you got Larry Caper's touchdown in overtime. I mean, there's different things. It's the Javon Ringer's run against them down there. I mean, there's so much. There's so many games that I can just keep going and going of what it means.
Yeah, no, it's cool. And we're talking football. It also, you can talk all the other sports. When those two schools play against each other, it's that same thing. And the football is obviously the pinnacle of it, but like that's it's super cool. And I love your passion about it. You can tell it's still there. I feel like it's a key. Like if they needed you and you're still eligible, most new rules, maybe you are.
Well, I know I win. Nope, now you ain't got to finish. I'm done. Yeah, the way there's some big old boys out there playing. I look up and I'm like, man, I can't believe I used to get hit like that. I can't believe that I loved it that much. And, it's a very tough, it's like anything, man. Anything you give everything that all your heart to, it's going to be hard. It's going to be tough. And you're going to have to every day keep coming back, no matter how big they are, no matter what the odds are. And, I love the game. It was great.
It's great. You kind of mentioned it. The kids now, they're big, they're strong, they're fast. I look at it often. They're way better than when we were coming up and playing whatever sport it was. They're more educated on nutrition. They sleep better. They have better training. They have more wearables and that sort of thing. And you actually wrote a book about the student athlete blueprint, and it's really, really, it's great. I was kind of curious what kind of urged you to do that, and what sort of responses have you had? And can you kind of talk us through that?
Yeah. Well, as I reflect back on my life and I look at what are areas that I'm good at, and what were things that when I set a goal out and went on these missions, like what I do, and just reflecting on those things, I realized I know a lot about, how can I say that? The same elements that I've learned as a student athlete were the same things that I had to do at 44 years old, trying to rediscover my life back on the path to something, where there was a time where I was lost, I was depressed, I was confused, and I was just like, man, I don't even know who I am. I don't know who tools are, skills are. And I'm 30 something at this time, having these conversations with myself. So as I'm trying to figure out my way and my life together, I'm realizing these are the same exact things that I utilized as a kid to reach the success I had as a student athlete. So, and it isn't all about just running and lifting either. The book. I mean, it's the time management part. It's the mental health part. It's the volunteering, giving, and serving part. It's all these things to make a well-rounded student athlete. And in my opinion, if you're a kid that you can be 5 years old in kindergarten, but you are playing soccer or flag football or basketball, baseball, you're a student athlete. You don't have to wait till you're in high school to say I'm a student athlete. So it's being able to take these things that I've learned, put them into the student athlete blueprint, and give this to parents who may not understand the game, who may not have the same type of resources, coaches who may not have the same type of resources, mentors, guardians, just who may not have the same type of resources that I had growing up to help their child, their student athlete, their neighborhood kid. And in this book, you can go through it with your child, your student athlete, with the neighborhood kid. There's all these information that help enrich that, even just that relationship. And there's pieces of the book that there's chapters where you read, but in the back of the big book, there's worksheets. There's different things that you actually write down what your dreams are, your goals. There's actually different type of exercises for you to get better. So it's my give back. It's something that was poured into me as a kid that I utilize as an adult, and to give it back to the generation to come, the student athletes to come, or anyone trying to reach their excellence that they believe that they can reach. This is a guide for them.
It's such a great tool, and it's something that's away from the field. You know, I think that a lot of people in athlete development think that when they can affect an athlete is during practice or during drills or yelling from the sidelines or from the stands, depending on the sport. And what you're saying is giving them that blueprint, that handbook of how they manage time. And I love the fact you look at, 7 and 9-year-olds are both athletes. I never consider them student athletes, and you're exactly right. That's exactly what they are. They're student athletes. You know, they're not doing any chores, that's for sure. So that's all they are, students. And so that's
that's like, even when I take my kids to like the Michigan State games, like I'm telling them they're students. Like they have to go to class. Like, and my kids I have 5. They're 12, 8, 6, 5, and 3. So it's like, when you're playing for your school, you get to do this. But in order to play for your school, you have to do the school work first. So to be able to to marry the two, and I mean, you never know how long the game is going to last. You never know how long you get to play these things. But if you have the tools to be successful, you have the tools there's a standard. The standard is excellent, bottom line. And what age do you learn that standard and you actually commit to that standard? It's hard. So the sooner you can start to understand what that means, and sports is a great way to reflect it, because you have outcomes, you have results, you have tangible measurements that tell you how you did. And now take that same type of energy and that same type of focus and put that into your everyday life, whether you're a student, business owner, parent, community leader. That's what the standard is. It's excellent.
Yeah, we hope with coaches, parents, athletes, and other people that are trying to achieve excellence, like you mentioned, listening to this. But like from a coach perspective, when you're designing how you're going to teach your team or how you're going to articulate something to your players, like those are the things that coaches should be thinking about. It's big picture life lessons that you're helping to instill, and it can go, because it is results, and that is part of it for sure. So I think that's a great message to hear from someone like yourself who, made it to the highest levels and had success, but also like when you reflect back, like those are the lessons that have helped. And it's a good reminder, because that's what youth sports coaches are doing. They're preparing people for their future for sure.
Exactly. And, some seasons you win the championship, some seasons you may not win one game, but you're still learning throughout that whole process and still developing. And it's such a mirror of life to me. And to probably now, I mean, I would say I've probably played sports equally as long as I haven't played sports at this point in my life. And it's such a mirror. It's such a mirror. And the fact that I had that adversity, that tough love. I mean, the fact that I've had injuries and had the question, like, can I go? Like, can I still go? And you know, those are the underlying things that sports teaches us I feel like we all get those experiences, whatever career path, whatever life path we choose, we get to do that, but they're more prevalent and they're more glaring in athletic.
Right. They are. And that's something that, as parents listen, or we're talking to parents about these sort of things. Like, we always have to come back to that. To your point, you might win a championship, you may not win a game, but the life lessons are there. And, how parents talk about the value of each one is really important. So, that's good.
And it's good too, because I mean, we also learn through our kids. So, I mean, there's a lot of lessons that us as parents haven't grasped yet, but our kids are like, we're pushing us there. They're getting us there. So it helps both of us.
Oh, absolutely. That's that element of their beings of knowledge too. I mean, their experiences and how they see the world matters, because how they see the world is how they're going to react to it. And that's really, you can learn from them every day too. You must be doing a lot of learning with 5 kids. Good for you.
But it's the thing too. Like, the kids chose us, so it's not. I mean, that's what I believe. It's like, you get to choose your parents when you're like, I believe your kids chose us. So back to my young man who was having who had his heart issues, how Battle for the House has started. Like, I mean, I've had four kids. The other hand, it was easy. I mean, not easy, but like, we didn't have any type of medical emergency at all in any of the situations. So this thing happens, and it's like, why is this happening? Like, what is going on? And little do we know, like, this kid chose us because he believes that his mom and I have the ability to take care of him, and we have no idea what we're doing. This kid chose us to be able to do that. At the same time, this kid who had this was born with this condition has now created has sprung this idea of Battle for the Houses. So, like, it's a great family for him to have been in, regardless of, so you just look at it that way. And then when you look at life that way, out of all my kids, it's you realize that they're here to help you develop who you want to be if you choose to drop your ego, learn some things, and actually participate in the path, in the process, and trust it. And, a lot of times we're too much caught up in our own world and our own life to even see the bigger gifts that we're given. And, that has been throughout my own transformation, my own development. A lot of the gifts that I was given, I didn't receive. I didn't receive them as something to help me. I received them as, why me? Why did this happen to me? What's what I do, rather than, shoot, I can do this. Okay, it's not the path I chose, but if I can participate in life and on the path, I think I'm gonna come out even further and better ahead than I would have if I would have had the route that I wanted.
Having that gratitude for everything, even if it's adversity, it just changes every perspective. And
yes, it does.
Yeah, it's a really great message, man. I do gotta ask you, born in Kalamazoo, I know you said you had 8-year-old memories. Was there ever a thought of you going to Ann Arbor, or maybe staying for your hometown Western? How was that as obviously a star athlete in high school? What was that decision like?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think the first time I even have told this story, but at one point, my bigger brother is my bigger brother, but sometimes you purposely want to go against your bigger brother. So sometimes I was like, come on, man, I'm going this over here. And my best friend at the time was a huge fan of those guys. So, that was also kind of like, and I'm not in the mix. And then here comes the Fab Five. And I'm just like, the Fab Five are here. I think I had a Chris Webber jersey. I was the gold Chris Webber jersey. And I mean, I thought I was, and then just, there was a moment. It was a brief, real tiny moment that I was like, But
Well, in your family, it's probably like that one moment of indiscretion, like,
well, now, so I mean, my grandmother graduated from the University of Michigan. My grandfather graduated from Michigan State. I have cousins that have gone down the road. Bobby Smith that played for them a few years ago. That's my first cousin. I mean, it's a lot. That's what I'm saying. It's intertwined with that rivalry. It's not just neighbors, but it's the house divided, and it's all love. But that one day, hey man, you know, and then you like, and then when you win or lose, you're gonna hear about it for the whole year, and it may be very very in your face, or it may just be real quiet, but they're gonna make sure you remember whatever happened in October.
it's so true. Right? When you're looking forward, like, to the next few years here, what do you see? Like, what do you see the changes and maybe how athletes are developing? There's obviously a changing landscape in college sports. Like, what do you see as, I love your glass half full. Like, what can we learn, be grateful for? What do you see as opportunities kind of in the athlete development and the NCAA sports world?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, I mean, they're still kids, regardless of how you look at it, how you put it, they're still kids. So, I mean, there's tons of development. I mean, there's tons. And they're also because there are resources involved and things of that nature now, you may have that post-professional athlete syndrome, whatever you want to call it. Like, that's going to kick in a lot earlier now. It's going to kick in a lot it's not going to be 2-3 years. It's going to happen a lot sooner. So to be able to definitely have resources for these young men to navigate the mental health challenges that are going to come, these challenges that me, even as a grown man, struggle with and try to figure out how to navigate through, let alone if I was an 18, 19, 20-year-old who was in that same situation, how would I have done it? So I think just continuing to love on these kids, and you forget that they're kids, and you forget that it's a game when they're on these pedestals and they're in these gladiator arenas, and this games, the things are still going to get done. The game is still going to get played, but it's being able to continue to develop as many resources to put around them, as many people who have done it, who have been through both ends of the fire and who have come out on top and can actually reach back and pull people through. And I think that's university level. That's even high school level. It's community. It's all levels of still trying to nurture the child, the young man, to be able to get through what it means to be a student athlete, or what it means to be alive, and have some love and some guidance. So yeah, to answer your question, man, I think they just continue to develop support systems that look at the student athlete off the field as much as the attention is and the demand is for them on the field, and places for them to have practices rather than getting into real world right away. And the whole world sees if you make a mistake or if you make a big play. And if you ain't never been in this arena or in this environment, it's a little bit more challenging to make those big plays when everything depends on it.
Yeah, no, I suppose that's a really good point. You touched on something with the having mental health awareness, and curious, when you're in the NFL, and this is one of those parts of sports in general that continues to become more and more prevalent. But when you're in the NFL, was there mental sports performance coaches? Was that something you sought out on your own? It sounds like you were a forward thinker in that regard. Or was it still kind of in that archaic stage where if people were doing it, they weren't really talking about it?
A little bit of both. Now the internet, you can there's so much, but you look at players who are successful and you just kind of, football, the game is the game. Sports is the game. Life and things are the game. There's already people who have done these things. and you can kind of just watch. And, you know, again, with my brother being 11 years older than me, being in the house with him, I mean, he's the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year, and he's my brother. And I see him work out, but I also see him being a normal human being. Like, you can see these things, and then they actually make it tangible. So they get a kid onto a campus and get them out of their hometown and see, like, this is what it's all about. Is all these things, and to be able to, like, you know, I'll just keep saying it, man. Just keep nurturing, giving these kids these resources, and you don't know who's gonna pop. You don't know who's gonna have that platform next, but they all have a purpose. They all have something that they're a mission in their life. The reason why they are alive, and it may not be to score a touchdown. It may not be to do those things. And yeah, I mean, it's I don't know if that really answered your question as you wanted it, but it is definitely it's something. It's, you know, mental health. It's just as much as you need to go to the gym, lift, run, work out. You have to do the same type of deal. And for where I was at, I mean, I started going by Todd rather than TJ, because I couldn't even talk about that person. Like, I couldn't even look in the mirror and be that person. So I had to go through my own rediscovery of what it was. I mean, I went on a 40-day water fast trying to just figure out what is my purpose. And then at the end of that, I was able to actually rebuild the human. And then I put on this amazing elite athlete on top of that human, rather than putting that first as my foundation and then hoping that carries me the rest of my way through life from a play I made in 2001. You know, I mean, that's how I went through my process. And this was, I'm 14 years into my redevelopment. And, you know, when I was an 8-year-old with dreams of playing in the NFL, it took 13 years to get drafted. So now here I am, have put the same amount of time into a dream of being an NFL player. I put in the same amount of time into the dream of who am I on the other side. Like, that was all I was trying to do. And now, 14 years later, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a business owner, I'm a community leader, I'm a philanthropist. Like, I'm a mentor. Like, I'm these things now, which I dreamed about 13, 14 years ago when I was depressed and no hope. And so, yeah, man, it's a process. And these same kids are going to be going through this. Just like families are going to have to utilize Ronald McDonald House. That they're going to have to utilize. It's not like, hopefully we get something. No, somebody today has got a diagnosis that they're going to need that house. Same situation.
Yeah, there's so much there I want to touch before we get back to Ronald McDonald House, because you're exactly right, and that's how we can all help right this week for sure. The fact that you said you had to peel back and be the human first, like, that to me is something that we all need to think about as we talk about athletes, and whether those are our children who are athletes, people around us, people we admire, you know, like, that's something that it's first and foremost, where, you know, the higher end you're sort of, I'm like, well, what happens after too? Like, when it's your identity. But I think that when you're looking at the highest level, that's what they want. Like, they want to be known as people first. And then, you know, that's up to us as parents, as adults, when we're seeing that 14, 15, 16-year-old who's really good and they're getting some notoriety within their community and stuff. You know, that's still, are you being a good person? Are you contributing? Are you like, or if you're doing all of those things, are you working really hard? Oh, and you're having success on the field or on the ice or on the court or wherever it is, on the golf course, you know, any of these avenues, because we'll be doing them a long-term favor of, you know, putting the person first, just like we all can do a long-term favor by helping contribute to a cause like this, whether it's of time or money, because you don't know when that could be. And, you know, and hopefully you never wish it on anybody, but to your point, somebody's finding out that they're going to use it. And, you know, that's where we can all play the long game and on kind of both sides of this.
Yeah. I mean, that's how, I mean, community is community. And that's how we can do our part. And with my nonprofit, I'm the rainmaker, flooding the world through giving a service a single raindrop at a time. And that single raindrop is what it's all about. That single action, that single positive thought, that single movement. A bunch of those creates a big old flood of love. And each of us can be responsible for that. And again, like with football, I played running back. So I do what I do. But there are 11 other people on that field on offense that has to do their individual job in order for us as a unit to even hold up on offense, not just offense. So, I mean, and there's so many different backgrounds, there's so many different goals in a locker room, but the greatest teams can ever get everybody on the same page for this season. And then like the greater teams, you get us 2, maybe 3 seasons, but that's like so rare. So, in life, when you have resources, opportunities, chances to be able to help someone else's season be brighter or make a big play in their season so they have hope, that's what this is all about to me. That's what life has given me. And it's a privilege. It's a privilege to be who we are. And it's a privilege to take that risk to help push the needle forward. And a lot of us don't look at it as a privilege, look at it as a burden. And, some things you don't choose, other things you make a choice. And that's what all this life has as a parent, as a business owner, as a student athlete. It's all about our choice to be able to be that standard of excellence, baby.
Yeah, there's so much there, like, they're making that choice. And when we look at like all the different parts of being an athlete and being part of a community, and making sure that we're giving as much back to our communities as our communities are giving us. And one of the things I love about the competition, the Battle of the Houses here, is that it's not just about the financial gift, that you give the gift of time. And we can all do that, even though we all feel like we're busy, but that's the point where we can all make that time to help give back. And that's what I love when I was researching about what you guys were doing, that they're counting those hours, those volunteer hours. So
equally as important as dollars, equally. And sometimes the volunteer hours are actually more impactful because you're boots on the ground. You get to see it. You get to be there. You get to not just write a check, which we love those too now. Like, we love the checks, but when you actually get to be there and feel it, then your presence, your energy doesn't just happen during 1 week out a year for a game. Now you're attached, and now you may come every other weekend or once a month. Your business is planning on helping feed families there, or during the fall, your community, your flag football team goes and rakes leaves there. Whatever it is, we can have that ability to help create that give back.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks so much for sharing the story and insight and everything. Any listeners, if you want to get involved, or we'll have all the information in the show notes here. And especially, like we talked about, we all have a feeling going into this Saturday, which way we hope it goes. And to TJ's point early, it doesn't matter records come in, and nothing else matters when that ball first gets killed. That's for sure.
Yes, enjoy it. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Oh, man, thanks a lot for all you're doing. It's cool to connect with you, and all the best this week. And hopefully, Mike, we got him to say, he's like, yeah, so go blue and go grit, and he couldn't quite say that. So you can finish that. You can finish that one for the listener.
Go green, go green.
Oh, that's great. Hey, thanks again. All the best, and we'll take care.
Appreciate it. Peace.